Greetings gamers, Eurogamer's Tom Phillips here with another look at Watch Dogs, which I played again last week in its now pretty much complete form. Perfect timing then for another look at how it's getting on.
Would you like one? Hey, how about you? Who's hungry? I know I am.
There's something about Watch Dogs' recent graphics debate that goes beyond skin deep. Games change between conception, unveiling and release, and after a 5-year development it should be no surprise that things adapt. It sounds like there's now good news in the graphics department, but it remains to be seen whether the vocal minority that felt disappointed with the game will have been won back. It wasn't simply that Watch Dogs might have looked worse. Correctly or not, those players felt Ubisoft had cheated on a key part of the vision sold back at Watch Dogs E3 2012 unveiling. Another part of that promise was a game where you could control everything, where an entire city was at your fingertips and its population's darkest secrets were there for exploiting. It was a tantalising concept to consider. Not only did the slice of gameplay shown tease a visually exciting next-gen open world, but the complexity of that world seemed a step beyond what we were used to. It was a virtual city where the population were apparently more than just polygons on a pavement, where they became believable inhabitants of a virtual Chicago, whose lives you could delve into and even destroy, all at the click of a button to turn out a set of traffic lights.
I'll check over there.
How much this will still ring true for you in the final game depends on how deeply you become invested in the game's brand of hacker fantasy. Of course you can't control everything, and of course there are limits. Far from doing any actual hacking, much of the time you're just pressing the X button to activate abilities, or bring up auto-generated blurbs on those passing by. And after an extended period of creating car crashes at the touch of a button, that same action can quickly become just that, a win button. Give it a tap and you're racing away. But put together and executed correctly, Aiden Pearce's arsenal can be devastatingly effective, as in the E3 2012 mission. Armed with Splinter Cell style gadgetry, you'll black out lights to blind foes, remotely explode an enemy's stock of grenades, activate car alarms or set nearby machinery whirring to cause distractions. These tools are fun to play around with by yourself in the game's open world, but are best put to use in controlled areas where you can feel that a hand has designed several paths for you to follow. Zooming between CCTV cameras to remotely hack objects, and cause confusion when infiltrating one of the city's CTOS control points, for example, as opposed to going in on foot and dealing with the guards in person. The game's beefy single-player campaign offers numerous scenarios to flex your skills in tightly controlled environments, although main character Aiden Pearce begins the game with only the most basic of tools downloaded to his shiny phone. The beginning of Pearce's story has been detailed elsewhere, but for those wary of spoilers, feel free to stick your fingers in your ears for the next sentence or two. Watch Dogs opens with Pearce embroiled in a heist spiralling out of control, and a slip-up that sees his 6-year-old niece killed in retaliation for his crime. Fast forward nearly a year, and Pearce is now obsessed with tracking down those responsible. Taking control of Pearce inside the locker room at Chicago's iconic Wrigley Field baseball stadium, the game's tutorial level sees you begin to incapacitate and distract with ease. Pearce is happy to entangle nearby gang members with cops for the sake of a distraction, and put a packed stand full of people in jeopardy with a neat set piece that shows off one of his tech abilities released at large. This end of level trick is an atmospheric example of the game's attempts to draw you into its hacker fantasy, but is cheapened a little bit by the fact that you're stuck behind glass, only able to watch the panic unfolding from the other side. After a set of introduction missions, the game begins to feel more varied, happy to give you room to play with your widening arsenal of weaponry and powers. One standout level sees Pearce infiltrate a factory, only to be told that the location is a setup. He only has 2 minutes to prepare until enemies arrive. Suddenly the game switches into tower defense mode, with a newly acquired set of sticky bombs at start. The timer ticks down as you rush about the factory floor, laying traps near choke points and removing potential enemy cover before climbing up to a crane, manoeuvrable by your phone, for a bird's eye view of the scene below. From up here you can remotely detonate your charges at specific times, throw down grenades and snipe any survivors. Missions like these leave you in no doubt at the fun to be found wearing Pearce's cap and leather trench coat. And you'll be wearing it a lot if you want to see the game through to the end. The average player clocks in their playthrough at around 35 to 40 hours, creative director Jonathan Morin told Eurogamer, but you'll need somewhere beyond 100 hours to complete everything on offer. It's not unbelievable. There is an astonishing amount of side content to tempt you away from the main campaign, although you may not feel the need to see it all. Drive a block and you'll find dynamically generated side missions popping up starring NPCs in trouble. The first of these is a mandatory affair near the game's start, designed to introduce you to the concept that you can automatically profile pedestrians nearby to determine who might be a threat and, a little oddly, who might be a victim. Thankfully there are plenty more combinations beyond the save the girl trope, although this is, a little sadly, your first mission of this type. Already revealed are the AR games accessible via Pierce's mobile phone that overlay glyphs to collect or alien spawning portals to fight over the regular Chicago cityscape. Newly shown off, however, are the game's more robust minigames, termed digital trips, which transform the game's world completely with sci-fi or supernatural elements. They're like miniature versions of the wacky Far Cry 3 Blood Dragon spin-off, but they're already within the game. Load up Madness and you're tasked with running down groups of Ghost Rider style enemies, charging over them in your vehicle and pulling donuts over large groups. Then there's Spider Tank, which gives you control of a mecha arachnid armed with machine guns, rockets and claws to squish pedestrians and traffic alike in your grip. Your 8-legged tank can climb on any surface, the side of a skyscraper for example, or the underside of a bridge, and jump vast distances to drop death from above. Both minigames have their own individual skill trees of upgrades to unlock too. There's so much to see and do, it's a little overwhelming in fact, and while some mission types fit smoothly within the game, you can raid gang hideouts, undertake races on land and sea, even leave items for other players at city hotspots, others feel superfluous. Did we really need another set of pub games, or the ability to play a round of chess? It doesn't quite approach the barrel-making bloat of Assassin's Creed 3, although you can't help but wonder if the work to throw in the kitchen sideboard as well as the sink could have been better spent elsewhere. More worthwhile then are the game's suite of seamless multiplayer modes, some of which are at least as fun as most of the main campaign. I've written before about how I think these offerings are Watch Dogs' secret weapon, a set of ways to interact with friends and other random players across the dense Chicago cityscape. Ubisoft has shown off some of these before, such as the cat and mouse hacking mode where you're suddenly alerted to the fact that another human player is in your game, hiding close by, and siphoning data from your phone. It's still a thrill to see that message pop up and the chase begin. Online races are pretty self-explanatory. These are the least dynamic of the modes with fixed start and end points, and menus in between races to vote on the next route for your party to race. Much more fun is the decryption mode, where players must hold onto a file for a certain length of time. It can be played just with other players or in two sides, which leaves you facing small armies of cars and players armed with explosives, or vice versa, with a wake of friendlies protecting you as you speed off holding the goods. The game's tablet mode was sadly not yet available to try, but I was shown how it would work in video form. It will allow someone armed with the game's iOS or Android companion app to drop in on your game to help or hinder you on specific missions, armed with a lo-fi, top-down map of your surroundings and a stock of cop cars and helicopters to play with. Then there's the no rules free roam mode, a bonus feature according to Morin, where the only option on offer is a simple ability to flag whether players are friends or foes. It's impossible not to feel impressed by the playground that Ubisoft Montreal has crafted, and yet you could still question whether all of this work has gone into the right areas. It's not a case of quantity over quality, but a question of whether the game ultimately delivers on its promise of a new kind of open world, a place that wears the label of next gen for achieving more than shinier graphics and simple tricks to manipulate your environment. I don't think Ubisoft cheats on providing its version of this, just that the company's original version for Watch Dogs City and its populace is still there for pursuing. Thanks for watching, and if you liked the video, do hit that button to subscribe to Eurogamer for more new gameplay videos and previews for this year's biggest games.
Okay, we got a bunch of dead bodies, right? We got 40,000 people above us. We need a distraction. I called the cops.
You did?
Oh, yeah, true story. So, cops arrive, and Maurice's little band of brothers arrive, and pow, 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 pow.
Jordy, tell me you're joking.
No, I called them too. Look, we get a messy altercation at the end of the game. You and I slip away undetected. You'll appreciate the plan tomorrow.